I'm joined by Henry and Tom for our pre-match chat. If at any time anyone would like to ask a question of the two lads, then I'm sure they'll be happy to answer your query. But Henry, I see the crutches with you. You went off against Cardiff, I think. Is it a long-term injury, or are we nearly back to normal?
Hopefully sort of next week or the week after. I mean, you've got to just have the caution with everything else, so it's getting a long way, and it should be fine.
Right, well, let's move to today's game after that, because I think you're fit, Tom, aren't you?
Yeah.
Only the Premiership left for Gloucester now, and I'll stay with Henry if I may. 5 home matches, 4 away. I guess starting with today, we've got to win all 5. There's no other option if we want Heineken Cup rugby or a top 4 finish.
Definitely. I mean, obviously every home game's a win for us. Every away game we're always looking to win as well. But we've got some tough games coming up, and obviously we need to start with a win against a good tough Northampton today. And I think if we can get that up, it's in good stead going forward.
So Tom, what will be the key areas against Northampton today?
They've got a very good forward pack, so we're going to have to make sure that we put the ball behind them. The set piece is going to be key as usual. And also deep defence, they're very good. They're a wrap side, so they get around the corner quite quickly in the multi-face side. So we kind of need to beat them around the corner in defence and make sure we get some good line speed to prevent them getting any gain line to put their backs on the front foot.
You were on the pitch last Saturday. I remember last Saturday because of the awful trip home. Why were the team off to such a slow start?
There's a lot of changes. Mike kind of put his hand up to play 10. And he probably had a lot of criticism before and after about it, but at the end of the day, he was there for the team. It's a different position for what he plays on the outside centre. It took us about 20 minutes to kind of get into the game, and the ref, to be fair, didn't give us much. But what was amazing is we held them out. It could have been a bigger score, and then we came back in the second half because we started getting combinations going. So it was bound to happen really, just because of the way the team was jiggled about. We had hardly any numbers, so we couldn't put aside that really.
I think you've been very kind. As I sat freezing in the stand, I didn't think the referee gave you anything.
He didn't actually.
Henry, back to today. I'll ask this of you as a younger member. A new name for most of us on the team sheet, Rob Langley. Is it Rob Langley? Yeah? Where does he play, and what sort of lad is he as a rugby player?
Well, obviously I think he's very good. He's been training with the first team for all of this season, and he sort of was in and out last season, and he's definitely shown that he can be here and he can play alongside us. It's good to have that sort of depth of youngsters coming up. I mean, we've been very fortunate with the youngsters that have come up through. I think the camp was showing that it's doing well, and I mean, he's a great player, he's very agile, he's very athletic, and I think if he gets on and sort of gets his hands on the ball, he's very good going forward, and he'll slot very well, really.
I hope you still term yourself a younger player.
Yeah, sort of. I'm sort of moving on now a bit, really, I think. I mean, you've got Johnny coming up, you've got Millsy, a lot younger, you're trying to sort of help them as you come up, but yeah, hopefully 22 still young man.
So how has Johnny taken the award as a Player of January? Must be swollen-headed now?
No, he's well, a bit, yeah, I would say, but that's a really good thing. I mean, a player that relies on confidence to get an award like that. He's like in the last 6 of the LV breakthrough player as well, I think, and that's great for him. He deserves all of that, really. He's played well when he's come on. He's probably covering 15 for the rest of the season now, him and Tom, and I think that's great to sort of have a youngster come up and shine how he has against big teams like Toulouse and Wasps. So yeah, we're really happy for him, and hopefully he continues that.
Tom, just sticking with Johnny for a second, do you see him staying at fullback, or is he really a natural winger?
I think he's more of a natural back three player. I think he's probably a 15 over a winger. He needs to be always on the ball, so to speak. He always needs to be in the game. And I think with his pace and his feet at the back, he's more of a threat. The teams won't necessarily kick as much. So I think if he can find his kicking game, because I don't think that's been under a lot of pressure in many ways, which is a good thing. But I think if he learns that throughout the rest of the season and knuckles that down, then I think he could be a 15 in the future.
Difficult to put this, Tom, without making you sound as though you're a veteran. But you've achieved almost everything in this game, trophies, etc. But from your position in the squad now, and the youngsters as Henry, like Henry, coming through, are Gloucester really moving in the right direction to be a force? There seems to be a conveyor belt at the bottom coming through, plus you guys who are of more experience, if I could put it. Are we travelling in the right direction?
I think we were this time last season when we were going on a 12-run and beaten bounce. And what was disappointing is that we had a great squad, and unfortunately we lost some key players. Finances, I don't know if it was, but unfortunately we needed to top up on that. And I think we would really be competing now in the top two. We got to the top four. Potentially we could have got to a final, we just missed out. But it was just a shame that we weren't able to build on that squad. We unfortunately had to lose a couple of players, bring in a couple of others, and then start a game. But the great thing is we've got a huge amount of young talent coming through, and they're learning all the time. And the thing we've just got to be careful at sometimes is that we need a balance. We need some older heads as well around, because as much as great for coming up, you need a bit of level handling sometimes. You need someone to tell you, how to go ahead, give you some experience, because they only become better players for it. And I think that's coming. I'm, really intrigued with the signings we're going to have this summer. But I think we're going in the right direction. The great thing is we've got a great footing. It's just a case of now adding to that squad in the right areas to complement each other.
More signings still to come, but Henry, how are you feeling about playing outside of Billy Twelvetrees? Because you must have played with him a few times before.
Yeah, I played with him at Saxons. He's the same age as me, so we got along quite well, and I think it'll be good to have him here. I think he's a good sign. He's a kicking option, so he can take that sort of pressure off Freddie and Tim if he's here next year as well. And I think he's obviously solid in defence. He's had some international experience as well, and he's always spoken very highly of. So it's a good sign for us. But as Tom said, he is a young player, and sort of looking at the signs we've got at the minute in the backs, there's very, very young, to be honest. I think Sinbad's the oldest that we've got. I think he'll obviously have to sort of find the balance with us, because obviously when you've got a lot of youth in the team, as Tom said, maybe sometimes you can go astray. Sometimes in games when you need to close it out, you can't go on your sort of 30-metre runs on your own and stuff like that. So I think we're going to have to definitely do some recruiting in that time, or keep the players that we've got on, the older heads as it were here.
So what you're saying really is that the more experienced mentors are very important for you younger lads coming through.
Definitely. I've been really lucky. I've had people like Tim's in front of me and Ellie as well, and they've sort of always sort of helped me with where I'm going. I'm obviously a bit different to their games that I've got, but they always help me after all the games. We also always go through like the analysis after each game, and they just sort of give me their knowledge that they've got. And obviously like Tom as well, I've been on the wing a few times. They're great as help, especially like sort of working the back three, covering the kicks in a position that I wouldn't normally be in. So I think it's very important that you do need those older players there just to keep you going forward and to keep you sort of picking their brains as well.
Right, Tom, next week, Bath away. For the supporters, perhaps the most hated opponent we've got. When you look at the fixture list as a player, do these rivalries filter through to that? Because, the fans want you to beat Bath. If we lose every other match, beat Bath. Is it the same on the playing side?
I must say, I'm a bit old. I grew up with that kind of stuff. I was on the other end with Bath against Gloucester, and it's a great feeling, not for yourself, but also for the fans. All right, Yeah, I think it's hugely important. It's hugely important in the game. You know, you want to be going home to work or going into work on a Monday, having bragging rights over the local derby, and Bath's one of them. So, so far we're 1-0 up. Let's make sure we make it 2-0, and then we can carry the bragging rights on into next season.
Well, there'll certainly be an atmosphere there. Another question for you, really, Tom. In recent week, the fabulous atmosphere from the crowd, at least against Toulouse, good against Cardiff, and then you go to the mortuary that is the Medeski. Is it something that affects players, the difference?
I think it is sometimes. I mean, I've got to say that against Cardiff it was outstanding to have that amount of crowd for an LV game. You know, it was brilliant. It was great for a lot of the youngsters that haven't experienced that. So, you know, thank you to the fans for that first and foremost. But yeah, going to places like the JC and they don't take it so seriously. It is hard to kind of you know, work off the atmosphere, because some players do need that. You know, you need that kind of drive from the crowd. And you know, so, although we have a good travelling support, it's always hard when you don't have the home crowd there so much. So I think the drums were louder than the actual crowd in the stadium, which was a little bit irritating. But no, it is hard, but you know, that's what you've got to deal with week in, week out.
Henry, the last match you played was against Cardiff. You made that splendid run and break that set up Bucko's try. How surprised were you to see that your nearest recipient of your pass was Bucko?
Yeah, I was quite surprised, to be honest. Obviously he's not the fastest, but I mean, that was one area that we looked at. I mean, the LV is obviously not, obviously right, it's a big competition, and we definitely wanted to win that and get through to a semi-final place, but unfortunately that wasn't the case. So obviously some boys are in, some boys are out, youngsters get tried in these games, but like players like Bucko, they've got the work experience and they bring it every single game, whatever it is, and I think that's just credit towards him, really, that he's worked past. I think we looked at it, I think he worked past about 4 or 5 players to actually get to where I was, and that's credit to him. And I was happy to put him into the 5 points, really.
Brilliant. I'm nearly at the end. Anyone pressing to ask a question of either of these lads? Talk into the mic, not over it.
Like that?
Yes.
I think one of the successes of this season has been our back 3 players and the quality we've got. We know that people away on international duty and people who've left, people who are injured, but a certain Mr. Voyce, I believe, is out of contract at the end of this season. Can we count on his services for next year?
Yeah, it's definitely it's interesting at the moment. There's a lot of negotiations going on with a lot of players, and you know, I would love to stay at Gloucester. You know, the reason I came here is because I had a bit of family heritage, and I felt like I could bring something to the club with my experience at Wasps, and it's something that, you know, I'd like to carry on here. It's up to the coach to make a decision on that, but you know, my heart is certainly want to be here for the end of my playing careers at the moment. So I'm going to have to kick me out.
Does that answer the question? Thank you for the question. One last thing, Tom, if I can finish with you. A lot of the great days for yourself were Wasps. How are you feeling at the moment, the way that they seem to be on the decline, both on and off the field? Not all for their own folk.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you know, I love rugby in just general, and you know, I'd probably say that obviously Wasps is very close to my heart, and it's a shame for someone like myself that they don't have a base in regard. They don't have a stadium like Gloucester do. They don't have the facilities. They don't have the fan base. So what was built up over a number of years, and the great success we've got, is now slowly diminishing. It's quite sad to see, because you obviously you play not only for the current moment but for the future and future generations coming up through, so you can look back and, you know, a bit like old players do today, come to Gloucester, and you can see what they built on and where Gloucester are now, and that is sad to see. I think personally, one of the reasons I left was a certain owner joined the club, and he's a football man at heart, and it was basically a case of him just trying to be, I think, the mayor of High Wycombe, and obviously now wants to sell it. They've got £4 million debt in tax, so it's quite disheartening. And talking to some of the boys, you know, it's a sad thing to see, but hopefully they'll regenerate somehow and a new owner will come in and kind of save them. But yeah, it is sad to see, but you kind of see that in rugby every now and then, don't you? So I think Newcastle just had a lifeline, so you know, that's good for them, and hopefully that club is on the way up as well.
Well, thanks for that, Tom, very honest. All that remains for me to do, Henry, Tom, is to thank you very much. Henry Trinder and Tom Voyce. Thank you.